Hey guys, brief update. Doing pretty well. I don't regret um my ex breaking up with me. I don't really regret it because I honestly feel better being away from him. Not not as some kind of shade towards him, but I've been enjoying life a little bit more after we broke up, honestly, because I felt like he was very controlling and demanding, and I like having agency over my own decisions. So, um, feeling pretty good overall. I've been doing pretty well with my sobriety, um, which got off track a little bit when I was with my ex. Not that it was his fault, but um, I just found things hard. But it made me realize that I really like. I've always For the past several months, I've been pretty much sober. I've been focusing on it a lot, but I realize that the longer that I stay sober continuously and the longer I partake in healthy habits like diet and exercise, um, I feel a lot better and my head is clearer. And when I get into those really bad moods that make me want to do unhealthy things, I just exercise and I usually feel at least a little bit better, which is great because the unhealthy stuff really doesn't make you feel better. It does for maybe a couple hours and then you feel like shit. So, um, anyway, like the title of the video says, I think I was actually incorrect in my analysis of my ex. Um, I thought that the reason that he was acting so weird towards me was because he was being abused by his ex, or he was abused by his ex and was trying to do it to me. But I think that I realized, well, maybe that could have happened still. I wouldn't be surprised, but I kind of realized that he was kind of narcissistic from the beginning. Um, so what happened was, so we broke up and then we didn't talk for 10 days at all, which was fine. I didn't really want to talk to him, but um, and this is very stupid, but I made a status on Facebook. It had nothing to do with him, but I was saying that I was grateful for the self discovery and the just all the things that have happened to me this year, that have helped me to kind of, grow personally, and that I was looking forward to, you know, getting to my full potential, and bringing more of myself and my potential out soon. It was nothing to do with him. It was nothing about him. Yes, he did influence my like growth, my mental growth, because I kind of realized, because at the end he was telling me all these horrible things, and it was kind of reinforcing the what I've learned at other points this year about how, like, when people abuse you, it's not about you, it's about them, and the whole experience with him kind of reinforced all that with me, and it made me, I guess, go a little bit easier on myself. Um, I'm typically, maybe I don't come across that way here, but I'm typically really hard on myself. I don't really like myself that much. I don't think I'm like a good person. I think that I have a lot, I have a very long journey ahead of me to get to a place where a lot of other people are in life, unfortunately. Um, some parts of my life are great. Like, I make a lot of money. Things are pretty stable. I'm not getting like abused. I'm not an abusive person myself. So I'm doing way better than a lot of people, but at the same time, I think there's just so much that I have to work on my personality. People don't treat me very well, and that's because I'm guessing it's most likely because they can see that I have really poor self-esteem. Like, it's hard for me to even look people in the eyes and like be confident around people, and it's not because of autism, it's because I'm always doubting myself. And I think my ex kind of took advantage of that. So anyway, I made that status, and I think that's what kind of triggered my ex to message me. Because he messaged me like 6 or so hours later. He was actually almost like he was about to um, go to the airport to go to Disney because he goes to Disney like every month, which I still think is ridiculous. But he was about to go to the airport. Um, I didn't reply for a couple hours because I didn't want to get sucked into like he always wanted me to respond like instantly, and he would always respond really fast, and I didn't want that. Um, but he sent this text that just said like, "Hello, hope you're doing well," and I was like, "Okay." So I replied and I said, "Oh, like I'm surprised to hear from you. Aren't you at Disney?" And he said, I think he said, like, yeah, I'm about to go to the airport or whatever. And we just had this, like, really useless conversation for, like, 5 or 6 messages. And so I was like, oh, yeah, the other thing he said, he was like, I was going to the airport and it made me think of you. Well, we never went to an airport together, so I don't really know what you're talking about. Clearly, you, like, want something from me, or, like, I don't know what is up. So I just kind of, played along with it, and I wanted to know. I was trying to figure out if he was gonna say anything like significant, but he didn't. So I'm 99%, actually, I'm 100% sure that he wanted me to like beg for him back or something because I don't think that he was done with me. I don't think he was. But anyway, um, he wanted me to beg, and I wasn't going to because I'm not, I'm not interested in being with someone who's manipulative like that. Um, so I didn't really feed into it, and then I did say something because I wanted to be sure. I wanted to test him a little. So I said something like, oh, like it's a shame we didn't meet at a different time or something because I did enjoy the friendship that we had. And then he replied with thanks with a period. So I was like, okay. So that confirmed to me that he was wanting me to beg for him back, which I'm pathetic, but I'm not that pathetic. Sorry. Um, so at that point, I was like, okay, I don't really like. This is just annoying, and I don't really want this person in my life that much, so I don't really care like what he thinks anymore. So I just, I said something a little bit mean. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I said something like, um, well, I see you haven't stopped being passive aggressive. I hope that your next rebound likes that. And that really set him off. um, he sent this horrible text back, and I think it was a little bit. I don't know. The reaction didn't really match the situation. I don't think, because he just went all in about he made fun of my appearance. He spent like half a page talking about like a bunch of different details about like my body and how it was gross, and like how I was gross, and how like he didn't want to be around me. And then he started making fun of like my autism symptoms, which like he didn't make fun of anything like that I could change or that is actually worth making fun of. Like went for like the most like lowbrow insults. Um, and that actually made me take it less personally because it seemed like, so I had said a lot of things that I was insecure about, and it seemed like he was just taking what I said I was insecure about and saying it back to me, trying to hurt my feelings. So, like, it was obvious that he was just trying to hurt my feelings. It's not like it was valid criticism. He said a lot of other things, but again, like, they were all stupid stuff. They weren't anything valid. Um, and I didn't respond to the text because, like, I saw what his real personality was at that point, and I didn't really want anything to do with him anymore. I was slightly optimistic that maybe he would say, like, he felt bad for what he was doing, or like he realized what he was doing, but that didn't happen. Um, so that's that's kind of it. But the reason that I think that I was wrong. So originally, like I said, I thought that his ex abused him so much that he wanted to do it to someone else. But now I'm thinking, um, now I'm like, of course, I'm never gonna like diagnose someone as a narcissist, but he was highly narcissistic, and it was very interesting because he was extremely socially skilled. Um, he had worked retail for years, which is probably where he learned it. But for being on the spectrum, he was very, very socially skilled. He knew exactly how to manipulate people because he did it to other people. And he kind of admitted it to me. He didn't admit that he manipulated his past relationships, but he admitted it about like other people in his life. So, um, he was being manipulative to me, which I figured that he wasn't because he was on the spectrum. I thought he was just being genuine because that's what I was doing. Usually I'm very like fake to other people too. I don't really share much about my personality in real life. Obviously here I do a little bit more because it's anonymous, but in real life I'm very like I I can kind of fake conversations, but I'm not intimate with other people, which is probably normal, I guess. But anyway, he was like, so he had like love bombed me in the beginning and said all these things like saying he wanted to marry me and like that I was like he had never connected with someone as much as me, and I actually believed it because of him being on spectrum. Like, damn, like I feel really stupid now, but I'm glad that I didn't continue falling for it. Like, I could have gotten in the trap of like really falling in love and then being manipulated for years. Which maybe his ex did that. I don't know. Um, his ex was also an addict, but he was like an active addict. At least that's what my ex said. Who knows? It could be a lie. The whole thing could be a lie. Like he trash talked his ex so much, but he probably had lots of good qualities, and probably the things that happened in the relationship, the things that he said happened, probably it was like an exaggerated version of the truth, or it was just a lie because he started talking about me like I was this like really crazy person. Like now that am away from him, I can see what he was doing. Um, because like I would say something to him, and he'd be like, "No, like that's wrong. Um, that's not how you do things." And I would just kind of cave in and be like, because he would give some kind of explanation that was based off of crap. It wasn't real. But then because I'm so, like, I have so much self-doubt, I was like, oh, okay, like, I'm sorry, I didn't see it that way. And then he started making me think that I was, like, crazy. And, it, you know, I have my moments, like, I made a video several months ago when I was drunk and I was acting pretty crazy, but, like, I'm overall I'm pretty mentally healthy actually, especially when I'm sober. So I wasn't crazy. He was the one who was crazy, really, and he was kind of projecting that onto me. And I noticed that, like, even on social media, the ex's, my ex's ex, his social media was like all about him, like all about my ex, and all about like it seemed like his entire identity like just faded throughout the relationship. Like I could see it even just from a couple of social media posts. And so I'm sure that he was aiming to do that with me. But I think he broke up with me because really he failed to do it. Um, I couldn't deal with it anymore. So I stopped doing what he wanted, and then he just broke up with me because I wasn't giving him what he wanted. So that doesn't mean that I'm a worthless person or that no one wants to be around me for more than a couple months. That's not what it means. What it means is that I was strong enough to not give in to his crap, which I think is a good thing and I'm happy about. So, um, I did a lot of research about covert narcissism. Again, not saying that he is like that he has NPD or something, but the the things he did were very similar. They were the same. He was constantly subtly putting me down. Um, he was constantly doing things that he was really good at, and he wouldn't let me do things that I was good at. Like if I wanted to do something that I had done a lot, he'd just passively be like, "Oh, like can we do that another day?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure." Um, and then he'd like he's pretty good at mini golf, and he always wanted to like do mini golf against me, and I'm not good at it. I've only ever played it like 3 times. So he said that he doesn't keep score, but every time he played it with me, he kept score because he figured that he would win, which is like, it's sad. Um, he was just choosing things that he was good at all the time. Like, I never made any plans. Like, I had made some suggestions for places to go to and things to do. And what would happen is, like, we would meet up, and then he'd be like, oh, like, I don't really want to do that. Can we do that another time? Or, like, oh, we don't have time for that. Like, can we, like, let's just do my plan. So, I didn't realize that it was designed to, like, make me feel bad because he's that insecure. I, I guess I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Um, like I said, he'd subtly put me down all the time, and then he'd say that he wasn't, but he was. Um, as you probably know, if you've like watched any of my videos, I used to be really overweight, and now I'm just like average American kind of overweight. um, but I'm still losing weight very slowly, not as fast as I should be, but I am. And so like when I would eat things, like when I would eat, he would be like, "Oh, like we would be eating together and he'd be like, "Oh, like I'm full." And he'd say like I'm full like 5 times in a row. And then I called him out on it once and he was just like, "What are you talking about? That's in your head." I was just saying I was full. but who says that they're full 5 times? Like, he was trying to tell me that I was overeating. Because there was one time where I definitely was, but I don't want to be controlled like that. Like, if I'm gonna overeat, like, or at least, like, say, like, hey, like, you might not want to eat that or something. Like, don't be like, I'm full. Like, come on. um, so anyway, that's one example, but there are countless examples. Like, he was always trying to, like, make me jealous, which I didn't care about. He was always trying to, like, what else? Oh, I remember one time, a couple times, we were in the store, and like, when I get food, I get, like, big quantities of it. Like, when I'm grocery shopping. So, like, if I get beef, I get, like, 3 pounds at a time because it's cheaper. Or even if I get candy, like, I get a lot of it at once. I'm actually not a big candy person. Like, I'm serious. Like, my mom likes candy, and my mom lives with me, so I get her candy. But I get, like, a lot of it at once because it's cheaper. And every time I would do that, like, with whether it was with beef or candy or, like, whatever kind of food, he'd be like, "Oh, like, you're getting a really big one, huh?" And I really didn't like that. Um, Kind of sucks how badly he was treating me, and I just took it because you know, I didn't think I was worth more. Like, I didn't think I was worth being treated well. And to an extent, I probably still don't. Um, I think at the very beginning, I actually kind of subconsciously and consciously realized that he wasn't really treating me that great, but I liked that. I think, like, I thought that kind of made sense. So that says to me that I have some work to do in terms of my self esteem and my shame towards myself, which I already knew. But anyway, I, like I said, I didn't think that someone on the spectrum could be so narcissistic, but clearly he was. Um, and the gambling addiction and everything else, it all it was all very, like, he was he had above average narcissistic traits at the very least. There's no other way to put it. So the way he treated me wasn't about me, but I guess he kind of picked me as a target because I think that I can be very empathic, and I know that I'm pretty understanding. I tend to want to know why things happened, and I like to, not that I necessarily give people the benefit of the doubt, but I wouldn't classify myself as ignorant at all. Now, saying that, I probably am, but I really, like I said, I try to understand people and the reasons why they do things. It's actually very fascinating to me, um, and understanding their ways of thinking because it helps me feel better about myself, honestly, when people treat me like crap. um, but he blocked me on Facebook after that text, so I'm not sure if he blocked me, like, via text too, but I don't really care. I blocked him, and I blocked him on every other social media thing we were connected on, because I don't want someone like that in my life. And it made me have kind of an epiphany. It made me realize that, I was kind of judging people based on uh, kind of shallow attributes. Like, I don't know, their income, like where they came from. I wanted to get away from my own negative background, and I thought that by, getting to know like middle class or upper middle class people, that I could get away from a lot of my issues. Or not my issues, but the issues that I faced as a kid. Like the poverty and like all the abuse and all the dysfunction that I figured was because of the poverty. And certainly the extent of the abuse, it was much more overt. I think overt abuse is much more accepted or acceptable in a poverty kind of situation, but covert abuse can be just as bad. Um, in some ways, it can be worse because you don't recognize that it's abusive. So, what I'm realizing is that I need to be around people who are accepting, no matter what they're like. Like, I was ashamed of myself, and I didn't want to be around people who I thought had similar characteristics to me. So, like, I was a little bit, like, I didn't want to be friends with minorities, or I didn't want to be friends with, like, people with mental disorders that were open about it, or people that were open about any kind of difference they had. I was always trying to kind of fit into the mold, even though that that would never that was never going to happen, and all I ended up doing was isolating myself in the end, or at least isolating my personality because I wasn't really like I wasn't displaying my real self. I was trying to hide everything about me. So I'm realizing that I need to, I'd like to be friends with some more accepting people. Like, what comes to mind is like those free spirit type people who use psychedelics. um, I think that they'd probably be nice to be around, to be honest. And I like psychedelics. So, I don't know. Um, I do think I need to make more friends because, like, I do have some friends, but we don't meet that often, and I think that they're a little bit narcissistic too. Maybe I'm narcissistic, and that's why this keeps happening. Like, I just noticed the friends that I do have are, they're pretty much all, like, their empathy is pretty low, it seems like, and they're all, like, kind of ashamed of themselves or kind of lying to themselves. So I think that we probably share that in common, and that's why I'm friends with these types of people. Um, so yeah, this 2 or 3 month relationship has actually taught me quite a lot, and I hope that I don't know. I hope that I continue to maintain this kind of emotional growth because I really do think I've made a ton of progress in my inner work this year, um, which I'm really happy about. So, I guess I won't draw this out too much. I think it's already almost 30 minutes long, so probably no one's going to watch to this point. But if you do, thank you. Thank you a lot. Um, thank you a lot. Do people even say that? Okay. That means I should definitely get off. Anyway, thank you. Goodbye.